And everybody, I am so sorry. This is what happens when you put somebody who is not IT smart in an IT position here. So thank you from the top, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us for our live at 5:09 p.m. event today with Stride. My name is Crystal Daynard, and I'm an adult employment specialist. And I'm so pleased that everybody is here joining us to talk about social media. And this is a pretty important week, and we'll get into that in a moment. But I'd like to introduce the panelists that I have joining me today. Chloe, and Chloe is an animal lover and an advocate, and she's a wonderful human being. And Matt is our youth employment specialist up in North Halton. And we're especially pleased that Melanie McGregor, health promotion specialist from CMHA in Halton, has joined us this week. And Melanie, maybe if you can let us know why this is an important week for mental health in Canada.
Yeah, thanks, Crystal. So this is actually the 70th annual CMHA Mental Health Week. So Mental Health Week is just a chance for people to share information about mental health, to have conversations, which we would hope that people would have those conversations all the time. But Mental Health Week is just really a chance to spotlight how important it is for us to think about our mental health and all the number of things that can affect our mental health. And the theme for this year is the hashtag is Get Real, and the theme is naming our emotions. So it really focuses on, okay, we can feel a number of things from a number of different things in our lives, but how do we name those and communicate about those? So yeah, it's definitely an exciting week.
Perfect. Thank you again so much, Melanie and Chloe and Matt and everybody who's hung around for the first little technical difficulty, but we're going to kind of jump right in, and maybe as we go, we can talk a little bit about who we are and why we're here. But I wanted to start off the conversation really just talking about some numbers that honestly I find quite scary. So currently in the world, there are 3.78 billion users that use social media every day. The average user uses 2 hours and 25 minutes on social media, and 98.8 people who access social media in the whole world do so using a mobile device. In last year, 2020, I'm going to guess, I can't obviously say for certain, but I'm going to guess because of the pandemic, there were 15 new users every single second signing up for social media across the globe. I don't know about you, but those are pretty staggering statistics. And I come from a generation a little while ago where computers and social media wasn't a thing. So for me, seeing the evolution has been life changing, how information has changed and all the rest of it. So, what do you think about those numbers?
I think it's important also to recognize that those numbers that that number that you mentioned off the top of how many users there are, that's users being reported by publicly traded companies. There are other forms of social media that may not be reporting how many users they have. So that number actually could be quite a bit larger. And it's just surprising to hear that because much like yourself, Crystal, I remember back in a time when the internet was still relatively new, and the push was for every household to be connected to the internet in Canada by I don't even remember the year that the goal was, but now you look at it and not only are we all connected to the internet, but we're all connected to these social media companies and able to connect to each other in ways that we never were before. So it's quite interesting. So
Absolutely. And an average internet user has 8.4 accounts on different social media platforms.
Yeah,
That's a lot.
that's a lot. That is a lot. Everyone seems to have a Twitter, a Snapchat, an Instagram, a Facebook, a YouTube, a this, a that. There's so many social media platforms that I've never even heard of. And you might meet someone, getting to know this person as a friend, and they're like, oh, do you have this? And I'm like, I've never even heard of that before. So not only are these numbers staggering, like increasingly at such increment amounts, but it's also multiple accounts. It's alarming and also a little scary too for the mental health of people, because I'm pretty sure it's not just middle-aged, young adults, people. I'm pretty sure it's very young children that these is happening for, and that are getting this account and that are doing this. So it's pretty scary to think about.
It is, absolutely. And I'd like to just, kind of address the elephant in the room and the irony that we're talking about social media and the good or the bad while we're on social media. So I do recognize that irony because it is kind of funny, but it is a mass platform that we can actually use to help have a conversation and see exactly what it is that we're struggling with. And as Stride really focuses on supporting people with mental health and addiction challenges, social media tends to come up quite often because it can make it or break it, not only when you're looking for work or keeping a job, because there's a component there which we'll talk about a little bit later, but also just really how much time are we spending on it, and what is it impacting our lives? How is it impacting our lives?
Mhm. I really like to, we're acknowledging that we don't want to say that all social media is bad. Like, yes, there are definitely some pluses to it. I know during the pandemic, there's been lots of talk around, well, we can't maybe be together physically, but how else can we stay connected? So social media is, of course, going to be a big part of that conversation. But I think some of the things that you brought up, Crystal, when you talk about, the number of hours that people are spending, that's when we look at, okay, so what's really going on here? Is being on these platforms, is that interfering with someone's life? They're not engaging with people on a meaningful level, or they're, it's getting in the way of other things that they might want to do. So yeah, it has some potential to have some real positives, but also some things that we want to watch out for too.
Absolutely.
And I think that's a great point, Crystal and Melanie as well, and Chloe as well, that you made. Like it used to be that when social media first started, you'd have Instagram and Facebook where you would scroll through and see updates from your friends and maybe comment on those updates. And that was the large focus of it. But now it's connecting with strangers, and it's watching videos, and it's all of these different activities and companies using it to advertise. And it really can turn into going down the rabbit hole sometimes. I'll hear regularly from youth that, you're asking, oh, what have you been up to for the day? And oh, I've spent the last few hours watching videos on TikTok. And I'm thinking, hours, wow, that's a long time. But the reality is, and sure, the pandemic plays, I think, a large part in that too, because we're looking for new ways of connecting and keeping ourselves entertained, right? And I think it is fair to say that these platforms have definitely given rise to recognizing talent, and individuals have found their voice on these platforms as well, which is great. So there are positives, there are also negatives though too. So it's important to kind of find that balance. So
Do you think that social media has a direct impact on how people feel about themselves? Like how, I guess in a positive or a negative way. Like what are your thoughts on that?
I think it can really go either way. Like we hear a lot about, people look at what we really want to remember when we're looking at social media is that people are really crafting who they are on social media. So if I'm looking at someone's Facebook or Twitter or whatever it is, saying, oh my gosh, look at that amazing meal that they made for dinner. And, I had a bowl of cereal for dinner. Like, obviously I'm not as motivated as them, but chances are they're not going to post the picture of the bowl of cereal when they have that for dinner. So I think it's very easy to assume that what we see on social media is someone's life all the time. And that probably isn't the case. So I hear a lot about that, about people saying, "Oh, I saw this on this, and now I'm feeling bad about myself." It's like, well, you need to be selective. Chances are we're all selective about what we put on social media. So I think it's just keeping that in mind and not having that comparison, that kind of keeping up with the Joneses, or they have this, or they look like this, or they're doing this, and that means that I'm not good enough. It's so easy to go there, and I think that's one of the biggest risks mental health wise when it comes to social media.
I would also agree with that completely. I think what we see often, and for myself, what I hear often with individuals that I'm supporting is that it can be quite difficult because we have situations where individuals are seeing a lot of, look how extravagant this person lives. This person is the same age as me, but they have the really fancy car and they live in the big house and they're going on vacations all the time and everything else. And that's such a very small fraction of the picture. Maybe you don't see the crippling debt that someone is putting themselves in to maintain that image. Maybe you don't see the fact that they borrowed that car from someone and that house is an Airbnb. Like there's the image that people would put forward to show um that lifestyle, to show those things, and then it creates these desires within other individuals. 100%, Melanie, I think you're right. I think there's a healthy way to use it, and then there's the unhealthy way, and when we start to judge ourselves compared to others, that's where we really have that risk. So
Absolutely. Speaking from personal experiences with social media, um, I know in the past I struggled with my self-esteem and how I viewed myself, not only just as a person, but also as a young Black female growing in a society that wanted you to be a certain way. So I decided, okay, I'm going to follow certain accounts that are for me, that I see myself. But even those accounts, there's a certain type of way they want you to be as yourself.
Mhm.
And it's like there's no win-win situation here. I can't find my place. I can't find peace. It took a while before I started and decided that I needed to use social media to benefit my mental health and benefit myself. So absolutely, I think it has a huge effect on your mental illness and how you view yourself and just how it can affect you and even the people around you, because it can keep you isolated. Like the example Melanie gave, you see someone post something and Matt said you don't know what's behind all of that. You just see this perfect life that they've portrayed on social media. They haven't told you or posted the yucky bits behind it. And all you're left with is, oh, I wish I had that. I wish I looked like that. And for a while, I know I struggled with that. And I'm sure all these numbers we're seeing rising, eventually it's like a phase that like some people just have to go through. Like it's just something that is just dug into us because of society's viewpoint on how you should be without letting you know the truth of what it really is.
Absolutely. Thank you, Chloe. I remember driving by. I don't know if anybody takes a look, but there's a lot of churches and a lot of community halls that often put funny signs outside. And I saw this one once, and it said, "May your life be as amazing as you pretend it is on Facebook." And I was laughing out loud, but then it actually caused me to take a step back and be like, okay, but what do I put on Facebook? Do I put that I'm so stressed and that I'm just like eating gobs of chips or chocolate, or that I just have no energy left at the end of the day? I just want to sit and watch Netflix for like 15 hours, maybe 14 hours. 15 seems a little too excessive. And Or am I going to be like, oh my God, had a great day, decided to order out tonight, treat myself, right? And kind of like have those kinds of things. I I I'm one of those old people that actually watches TikTok, but I have a really good reason, or maybe this is just how I justify it. But in order for my son to have a TikTok account, my rule was that I had to have an account so I could see what he wanted to post first. Thought that was the nice, responsible thing to do. And but then I got into the habit because they're just little videos. You just keep scrolling. And a couple weeks ago, I was telling everybody earlier, I spent 3 hours flipping between Facebook and Instagram and TikTok, and I can't get those hours back. I don't even know what I saw. Some things I laughed at, some things I cried at. But one thing I noticed, and I don't know if I can't say if this is happening across all platforms, but on TikTok specifically, there seems to be a large number of people who are using the platform to actually discuss their mental health and what their experience of living with anxiety is, or what depression is, or what it's like to be living with bipolar and having a bit of a manic episode. And it's very unfiltered, and it's, as you said, Matt, these are people that are using their voice, and there's a platform in order to do it. And I think that's an amazing turn of events in order to use something like that. And these people that are posting, they're being their authentic selves, and people are actually responding to that, which I think is so powerful. Absolutely
Absolutely.
powerful.
You brought up some of the positives too, that yeah, we're
Mhm.
talking about how it can definitely have a negative effect on self-esteem and mental health, but sometimes it allows people to connect with others, with that shared experience, or hear some inspirational stories, or look up resources and supports, whatever it may be. So there's definitely a positive side to it. It's just, I think, what we want to think of it as kind of, okay, what's that moderation? I always say all things in moderation. What is that balance? And it can be very different for different people. If scrolling through, we mentioned Chloe's an animal lover. If scrolling through and seeing those animals really does positive things for your mental health, that's great. Then definitely have that as part of your self-care toolkit. But it's when we're looking and we're thinking, I'm not sure if I'm really getting what I want from this experience. And that's when we want to ask ourselves some questions a little bit about, how am I doing right now? How do I want to be with social media?
And I think, Chloe, you said something very, very important too that I think we need to be aware of and we need to understand as well, which is social media can give a voice in a very positive way to otherwise marginalized individuals. And Crystal, you talked about that as well with the mental health component, but it can also be detrimental for people who are otherwise marginalized too, because they are seeing what society defines as this is how things should be, especially at a young age. That can be very, very dangerous for an individual's mental health, especially if you spend years of your life seeing these images of what society defines as beauty and what society defines as success, and all of those things. And it can create a very distorted image of reality. So
I was just thinking, for someone who grew up in the digital age, um, and I grew up and everything was just at your fingertips. Telephones, the internet. When I got my first phone, it still had the keypad on it, but I could still get the internet. Like, it was weird. Um, but from there, I switched to, my mom bought me a smartphone, and I was 12 years old, and it was just like, from that moment, everything I saw on the internet was just how you should be.
Mhm.
And now I'm 21. So it's taken all those years for me to figure out how to turn social media to better myself and not to compare myself to, because as Matt mentioned, all you see is, oh, this is what you have to look like to be beautiful. You have to have a really thin waist that you can't even get with surgery. And you have to have a really huge backside. And you have to have a really, round bust and really long, straight bone hair and light skin and this. And no, don't wear glasses. That's ugly. Don't do that. And it's like, but this is what I look like. I can't help it, and I had to find a way to bring it to, okay, I'm doing this for myself. It's so, and then find the balance. So I think it's that struggle of, it's not going to happen automatically, because what's happening automatically is what's detrimental to your mental health. So you have to be the one to hold tight and pull it towards a place where it's now going to benefit you. It's going to be a hard fight, but when that happens, oh my goodness, is it such a wonderful feeling. And that's where you start to be like, you know what, social media isn't that bad. Like, there's so many wonderful things that you can find, so many wonderful supports, so many wonderful people. You just have to fight that fight and find that balance to do that.
You bring up a great point, Chloe, that at what point do we actually determine social media can actually become a problem? That was actually a question that we just had come in. So for yourself, if anybody'd like to speak personally, when do you think social media has been an issue in your own personal life, or maybe the life of somebody that you know?
I think, yeah, and I'll just take the first run at that question, and what I've seen, and I saw this with my own son actually, is I think it starts to become a problem when you start to define your own successes and your own desires and dreams based on what you're seeing on social media, what you're seeing accomplished by, we call them influencers, right? So these individuals who, again, are posting all of those incredible accomplishments, and not to take away from anything that they've achieved or have accomplished. But when you start to hold yourself to that, and start to have those that image of, this is what I have to accomplish to be successful, that is one aspect of success. That is what success is for that person and how they've defined their success. But we need to remember to define our own lives and our own success away from social media. So for myself personally, I think what I've kind of tackled within my own family is, we have to define our own success, and it's going to look different for every single person. Our own beauty, our own goals, and our own desires, and that's going to look very different for each and every individual person.
I love
I agree,
that.
Matt.
Yeah, I know. I know someone who, she's one of the ones, a friend will post something on Facebook about, oh, I had a terrible day today. Someone was rude to me or whatever. So then my friend is, oh, she's talking about me. That must be me. So she's one, she sort of thinks that every post is about her. And I really see it stressing her, because she'll be really anxious. Oh, I wonder what I said to that person. I wonder what could it have been. So she's really anxious about it, when it's okay, well, you have no reason to believe that this person is talking about you. But I feel like sometimes using social media can be people's connection, depending on, days are busy, or there's a pandemic, or they just don't feel up to socializing, or they're busy, whatever it may be. So without having real life connections or things like that, it's very easy to go to that place. And I think one thing that I would definitely look for is social media a problem, is what kind of impact is it having on your day-to-day life? Because Crystal, you said you were on TikTok and you watched the
Oh,
videos and stuff for 50,
ridiculous. I don't even
it happens.
know.
Yeah, I'm sure we've all been there at one time or another. So one day isn't necessarily going to have a big impact. But if you're kind of routinely saying, oh, I didn't get those tests done at work because I was watching TikTok videos, or I was on Facebook, or, oh, I'm supposed to be having time with my family watching a movie, but I can't put my phone down because I have to see what that ping was from my social media. I would say if it's getting in the way of other things in someone's life, that's when, you might want to take a closer look at it and see. But again, once in a while, a little time on social media never really hurt anybody, but it's what is that balance? Is there a healthy balance there?
Well, and I
And
think not only mentally, sorry, Matt, I think not only mentally, but physically, there's challenges, right? Like holding the phone for long periods of time. They actually have a whole subset of children that are growing up with eye strain issues from looking at screens consistently. There's something called tech neck because you're literally looking like this all the time at your phone. And these are things that are physically changing ourselves and could become chronic issues down the line that could cause who knows what kind of challenges as we move forward. And I do think the problem piece, something that Melanie, you were saying, when we take things personally, when we see things, because sometimes, we all struggle with that outside validation and, did I get the like, or I didn't get the like, or only 47,000 people said happy birthday to me this year. Last year, 52,000 said, right? But and I see you all, because I think this is something that we do. We're like, oh, well, how many birthdays did I get this year? How many, how many likes or how many loves or how many all of these? And it kind of almost lays credence to the fact that we are programmed to seek validation outside of ourselves, and it's perpetuating that myth, which can be quite destroying. Like it can destroy us. And it is kind of figuring out how to figure out if it is a balance issue or what makes sense for us. There's a lot of talk about taking social media breaks. I have a lot of friends who do that. They take like 30-day social media breaks, or they take a break from Facebook and only use Instagram, or vice versa. And I think that could be a great mitigating way, kind of like more like a harm reduction
Mhm.
piece.
Yeah, and I think it leads, and I'm just again looking, and we had another question come through
Okay.
exactly about what you're talking about, Crystal, surrounding how do we put boundaries and what strategies do we put in place to maintain that healthy balance. And it's hard. It's getting harder and harder because these days, I don't know if anyone on our Facebook Live or even on the panel here has ever tried to sign up for a service or a website now or anything. And one of the first things it asks you to do is connect your Facebook account, sign in with Facebook. And more people will do that. And what it does is if you delete your Facebook account or deactivate your Facebook account, you can no longer log into that service. So they all become intertwined. So a strategy that I've seen a few people use that they've said has been effective for them is they'll actually delete the application from their phone
Mhm.
and not have the application on their phone. So if they want to go on Facebook, they have to be really intentional and go on the computer. And typically, I mean, this day and age, very often we don't find ourselves, especially in the virtual world we're living in right now, because we're living it all day every day. I don't know about anyone else, but at the end of my workday, the last thing I want to do is look at my computer screen for longer. So if I don't have Facebook on my phone and I'm not going to sit in front of my computer and scroll through it, it's easier to be disconnected from it. And you can do the same thing with again, some of those other applications as well, or delete them for a small period of time and reinstall them. They're free applications, so it's not a cost to do that. So there are ways of doing that. It's trying to find a strategy that works for yourself. It's hard because for every person it's going to look different.
Mhm.
There are just as many people out there that would say that won't work for me because I'll delete the application and an hour later I'm going to reinstall it because I want to see, who's posting the cute puppy videos today, or who's posting the awesome deal they got at Costco or something else, right? So
I wonder if it could be likened to when, they say when people quit smoking, it takes an average of 7 times or something for somebody to quit smoking. Maybe the same thing could be said for maybe not necessarily quitting social media, because as I think we've all talked about in it, this is a way for us to connect, especially right now when we can't physically see our loved ones in real life. And it is a way to have that ongoing connection, but maybe trying to figure out how to limit it for yourself and what makes sense. So is it, well, I don't really use Snapchat anymore, so I guess I can delete that. Or I really like the little funny videos on TikTok. I want to keep those over Instagram. Or I think it really depends what makes the most sense, but really trying to mitigate where you find a lot of your time is spent. I know for me, um, I am a very heated debater on Facebook. Anybody who knows me will attest to that. And I don't say that I'm a keyboard warrior, which is like a real term, but I have no challenge speaking up if I have an opinion about something, because luckily we live in a place where we have free speech, and I think that's wonderful. But that can also kind of come back and bite you in the butt too, especially if you're looking for work or if you're already employed. I don't know. Anybody have some thoughts on that?
I think that's a good point, Crystal. And the other thing I would also suggest, especially in situations that we find ourselves in these days, um, to try to mitigate all of that is where we often find ourselves kind of in those confrontations online and things like that is when we're in groups or we're following people that we don't have a personal connection with and whatnot. But if we really try to use those platforms as a tool to connect with people that we know, to connect with close friends and family, to follow close friends and family, maybe follow a social cause that you believe in, follow something, things that are important to you.
Like
um,
Stride, Employment Connections Program,
Ride for Risk,
employment services. Absolutely.
with that little plugin, but
There you go.
or CMHA Halton.
There you go.
So it's one of those things, like follow, if we find ourselves following kind of those types of things, then we may find ourselves less likely to be exposed to those other things. It's always going to be tricky, because honestly, if anyone has spent any time on Facebook or Instagram recently, you'll know that the algorithm will suggest things for you based on your interests. But if all your interests are causes that you believe in, then and close friends and family, then perhaps that can be a little healthier, a little less risk of that. Just my personal belief on that, though. So
Kind of like to what you were saying, Matt, is, look at what social media is intended for. Like, don't expect something from social media that it's not designed to provide. So sure, it's a great way to connect and socialize, excellent tool for that. But if, like Crystal, you says, oh man, my gosh, I didn't get enough likes on the photo or enough birthday messages. Okay, well, social media shouldn't be the main driver of our self-esteem or our overall health and wellness. So I think maybe in terms of what are some of those boundaries is looking at, okay, like after I go on social media, after I read my Facebook or my Instagram or whatever it is, how do I feel? Do I feel really positive? Do I feel good? Do I feel kind of down in the dumps? And if we're consistently thinking, I do this and I'm not feeling positively afterwards, let's look at, okay, who am I following? Do I maybe need to, block some things from my feed? Do I need to unfriend people that I don't really think are good for my well-being? And even just setting limits, like we talked about, taking breaks, which is always great, or even just setting limits. No one's saying that we have to give up social media completely, but maybe it's okay. Usually I spend 3 hours on social media and that's too much. Okay, so I'll gradually drop it down, and it's defining that time and really stick to it. So, okay, so from 4:30 to 6, that's going to be my social media time, and that's it. And again, yeah, it's hard at first, but it takes time to build it up into a habit. So I think, again, that's kind of that harm reduction that you mentioned, Crystal, I think is, yep, okay, we're not going to make it go away completely, but what can we do to reduce that a little bit?
Absolutely.
Um, I I've gotten so many great ideas for what I'm gonna add to my routine now. I just wanted to add. But so far what I have been doing to set more boundaries, and the strategies that I have been using is, like Matt said, finding more causes that I would love to follow, causes that mean more for me, that are more personal. And as everyone that knows me knows, I love animals. They're the best thing in the world. So I, I follow a lot of sanctuary and safaris and animal rescue accounts, and some other, causes, to help humans too. Don't worry, I love humans too. It's okay. um, um, I also, but you can also get carried away with even the things that you love and that are good for your mental health. So I could be scrolling for 3 hours just looking at puppy videos. So also put in a time limit, like Melanie said, like, like 4 to 6, you just go on there. I try to do that. And then I find that ever since I've been doing that, I now get bored with social media. My brain has now trained me to do more creative things, and I'm an artist. So now I find myself, I'm writing 2 books currently. I'm painting. I am going for more walks. I am going by the lake more often. Just filling up my day, now that I'm not working due to the lockdown, with more creative things that I know will help my mental health, but not completely avoiding social media, because sometimes I'm tired. I don't want to go for a walk. I just want to sit down and watch a funny video about an elephant trying to hug a lady, but he's too big and he can't. Like, sometimes you just need that, but too much of anything isn't good. You just need to find the right balance of
What,
getting
wait, does that include chocolate?
that. Don't quote me on this, but chocolate is basically salad, so you
Okay,
can't have
thank
too
you.
much
See, I'm of the
salad.
firm belief. Okay. I saw it on Facebook. I did. I saw it on Facebook.
Yes,
We,
salad is chocolate, so
Okay.
it's all
we've
good.
had,
We're all good.
we've had another question come through from our lovely Facebook audience. So an individual has asked, how do you deal with the other side of the coin when you get chastised from your peers for not being on social media? And then another comment on that was, or people getting upset when you take the break that you need from social media. So panel, how do we feel about that?
I'm sorry. I'm a very straightforward person. If my
No
friend,
apologies necessary, Chloe. No
thank
apologies.
you,
Be who you
Crystal.
are.
Thank you. If my friends, are complaining that I'm not being on social media, first of all, I want to communicate to them that I'm doing this for my mental health. You want to have that line of communication open, that this is what is important for my mental health. Hopefully they take it seriously. That's what you want from friends. Hopefully they take it seriously and they see that this is what's best for you and they support you. If they don't do that, I'm sorry, but you need other better friends. It's just that plain and simple. For me, that's just it. I can't be around you anymore because I need friends that would better me. And if I have also friends that are on social media all the time, I can't be around people like that can't see that they also need to set boundaries and need to work on their need to reduce their time on social media, because you need to surround yourself with like-minded people. Everyone needs to better their mental health. If your friends are not working on that and don't support you for working on that, then you might need to look at other options.
Mhm.
That's my opinion.
I love that you said that, Chloe, about being open about that, because that can give other people permission to do the same thing, or to connect and say, you know what, this is what I've been experiencing, and you can support each other. So I love that you said that. It's just, like, you do you. If this is what is best for your mental health, then you do you and you own that. So thank you for that suggestion.
To play devil's advocate, there is a thing that, like, a long time ago, it was uncommon to look up people on social media because it just wasn't a thing. But I can tell you that the majority of employers now, one of the first things that they do when they go to hire positions, and a lot of professional positions as well, is they want to take a look at what people's social media is. So we think sometimes social media is the Facebook and the TikToks and the Instagram and whatever all these other things are. I was going to say MSN Messenger, but then I'm like really old. Um, but LinkedIn is social media. And I remember when LinkedIn first came out, it was often coined as the Facebook for business, right? Like it was Facebook for professionals. And you have to cultivate a certain image on LinkedIn and how to use it. And it's a great tool for networking. We were talking about networking a little earlier. And it's also a great way because there's different things that social media are actually using to help engage people, especially when it comes to employment. Facebook now has a Facebook jobs post. I know when Stride posts, we can actually post directly to Facebook now using the jobs function. LinkedIn, a lot of places now, companies, they're just posting directly to LinkedIn for positions. They're not even using third-party services like Indeed or Workopolis or anything like that, because this is the go-to place. And so for somebody who isn't on social media, and I would include LinkedIn when it comes to that, that can actually be kind of a strike against them. But at the same time, people need to be very, very cautious about what they're putting on social media. And I don't know if people pay attention to this all that often. I don't like when you first start a job, you get like, you have to read 17,000 pages of policies, which is fantastic because this is what we need. And this is how how we govern, how we do our work. Most often there's a social media policy that I don't think people are very well aware of. And it says in most social media policies that when you are representing yourself or your company, you have to maintain a certain image. And if not, it could lead to progressive discipline up to and including termination. And I don't know about you guys, but we have seen a tremendous amount of things, especially over the last year, where people have lost their jobs because of what they have put on social media. And again, maybe just because I'm a little bit older and grew up a little bit more cautious, it was always don't put pictures of drinking or dancing or anything that would be considered inappropriate. And now, again, I'm sounding so old, but I see the younger generation, they just put everything up there. And I'm like, I don't know. And again, I'm not saying, please don't misconstrue this as not being who you are and authentic and the rest of it. But sometimes I just have to give my head a shake because I don't think that people actually know how this can impact them. I talk about it with my clients all the time.
I agree with you, Crystal. I see people from high school. I still follow some people from high school. And they post some things that I'm like, you could put a gun to my head and I would never. Now that marijuana is legal,
Mhm.
there are more people. I'm not saying don't live your life and don't do what you want, but it's a difference of posting you and a group of friends drinking beer and smoking and getting turned on the internet. Like if your future employer just does a little bit of research on you, that wouldn't look favorable. I completely agree. And my best friend and I have gotten into that conversation before because we're both very, very like kind of pictures we would post is, oh, I just did my makeup, I feel pretty, I'm gonna post it. That's it. But there are people where like it's some very scandalous pictures
Mhm.
and it's a little scary because I feel like my generation is becoming more carefree and like I don't care. I don't give a what, like it's my
Mhm.
life. I do whatever I want. But I feel like the mindset of still being very careful of how you deal with
Mhm.
your social media because of how others would view you, your reputation, how a future employer would look at that. I think it's so important to have that in the back of your mind before you click post.
All I need to really say is privacy settings, right? Go into your
Yeah.
privacy settings with all of your social media, because you can choose what you want to share. But just once something is on the internet, it goes into this big, again, not an IT person, but it goes into this big cloud or lines, or, and it's there for the rest of our lives. So until they replace the internet with something better, I don't know, mind to mind communication, but
Yeah, I think all very, very good points. And I think those are, you're right, Crystal. There is the other side of it where not having an online presence or a social media presence can sometimes be detrimental, but it is about protecting yourself while you are on there, having your security settings and your privacy settings that people can't see without you being connected. And then again, it just goes down to who are you connecting with on social media? Going back to, how do you respond to peers and whatnot if you need to take a break and they're chastising you? I think it's just having, as Chloe said, having that very open and honest conversation and saying, this is where I am right now and what I need to do for myself. I'm going to do what I need to do for myself and take that break so that I can recharge and re-energize myself, you know? Some people also, what we're seeing too, is people will sometimes use social media to update family and friends, but don't really spend time on it. So for example, they might go on to post a photo of, where they're at right now, so that their family or their friends can see where they're at, and then log off right away. So yeah, there's definitely some things there.
we do have another question here. So what increases the risk for social media addiction, specifically for youth? Anybody'd like to take this?
Interesting. Yeah, I would say some of the things would be what kind of connection does that young person or that person have to their family, to other friends, to community in whatever way that might be. Someone may be looking or seeking out social media for those connections because those are the connections that they have. We've gotten into it a little bit, but the idea of peer pressure as well, if, oh, my friends are saying you have to be on Facebook, or did you see this thing on Insta, or did you whatever, if that's kind of the topic of conversation or that's the pressure, I could see that having an influence as well. We talked a little bit about low self-esteem, about loneliness as well, because again, if I'm feeling like I'm not getting connection around me, I'm not getting validation around me, then maybe I can find that on social media. And if that's where I'm getting that validation, that's where I'm going to be devoting a lot of time. And so that could lead to some definitely problematic use of social media. My 2 cents anyway.
No, and I thank you, Melanie. I think that's great. I think it's also important to talk about, for people who struggle with social anxiety, sometimes it's easier to make those connections behind the keyboard because it feels safer to do so. But then what is that going to look like in real life? Because, and think about it, right now we have been completely, for the most part, sheltered for the last year, which I think we know has created a very large secondary pandemic of mental health challenges and what that is going to look like. But that is definitely a topic for another day. But by all means, please reach out to anybody if you are struggling, anybody anywhere. Please open the conversation, because everybody is here to listen, I promise. And I just it's super important to recognize that as we open back up, there's going to be a lot more social media movement, especially around people who agree with what is happening in society. People that don't agree definitely don't want to get into it here because it can be very polarizing conversations. But um, really, really try to make some educated decisions when you are on social media about what is important, what isn't important, what is real news and what isn't real news. That's something that I think we've been seeing a lot of over the last few years. I just think it's increasing. So just really paying attention to that. But at the end of the day, just being, as Chloe said, be authentic to who you are, and you do you. And if you want to shout from the rooftops on social media about something that you believe in fully, then do it, right? Just be aware of your surroundings and who's standing there with you, I think could be important. Any last thoughts? I do realize we're pretty close to 6 o'clock, even though we started a little bit late because, not tech savvy. Any last thoughts about social media, good, bad, or the ugly?
Yeah, I think for my advice for folks would be, again, just don't allow social media to necessarily change your goals and
Mhm.
affect your definitions of what success is and what you should be really aiming for achieving. Set those and define those by your own standards. Use social media as the tool it was meant to be, as I mentioned earlier, and as we've all talked about. Find the positives in it, and focus on those close friends and those close family and those causes that mean something to you, because those are where you'll find it can be a very powerful tool to connect if used properly, but it can also be quite dangerous. And the big one is, and we haven't really touched on it, but don't sleep with your phone next to you, because you'll probably find yourself at some point scrolling through the gram or Facebook or TikTok or YouTube or something else instead of going to sleep. Everyone needs that good night of sleep.
Good advice, Matt. Thank you.
I would kind of echo something similar. Say, chocolate, for example, Crystal. I mean, the good news I would say is, again, everything in moderation, so
Oh.
chocolate, social media, whatever it is. I think really look at what is that healthy balance? What are some of the positive things that you would want to use social media for? So again, you mentioned great ones, connecting with people, job searching, causes, entertainment, whatever it is, but really look at, okay, how can I do that in a positive way without, interfering with some other parts of my life? So again, it's just use the positives how you can, have that balance and have that moderation.
Great.
And I was gonna say for my peers, but I think everyone should, be social media smart. You want to be wary of the negatives of it. And you want to take advantage of the positives. You don't want it to control you. You want to hold the reins and hold tight and keep up the good fight. And if you're struggling with any mental health issues, don't be afraid to come out and speak to anyone that you trust. That's been the best decision that I know I've made in my life. It's not weak to do so. It's not wrong. It's not whatever you hear, whatever myth it is. It's not so. It is absolutely the opposite. It's vulnerable. It's strong. It's absolutely amazing. It is an enlightenment and an awakening to do so. And your life will change for the better when you get that help. And you can still use social media even when you get support. So just wanted to put that out there.
Great. I wanted to say thank you again, everybody, for those of us that are on this meeting and this call, whatever we want to call it, and for those that joined us on our second Live at 5 event. Very excited. I think we kind of maybe might make this a bit of a regular thing. So if you have anything that you'd like us to address, or if you'd like to maybe join a panel, please by all means contact us. You can message us directly through Facebook or Instagram. On social media. But I really want to say thank you again, Chloe, for your you sparkle, and I aim to be you. I need to tell you that you're just so grounded, and it's so very engaging. And Melanie, thank you so much, not only for joining us today, but for being a part of an organization locally and nationally that drives mental health initiatives throughout Canada. And I think without the CMHA, we would be so much further behind. So thank you very much for all of that. And Matt, as always, I love you. Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. And I hope that everybody has a wonderful evening. Bye.